Good. Oh, it's afternoon. Hey, guys, it's Tim Gillette with the Tim Gillette Show. And, hey, the show's got my name on it, but it's not about me. It's about all these interesting people I meet. Right now, I am doing a series called 100 Interviews in 30 Days. It's like I didn't have enough going on in my life. I thought I would, ramp it up. So some of these, like this morning, was someone who kind of knew, but this one here is someone who I really don't know. I did find out, though, that she's living in my town. So we'll talk about that, I'm sure. And also, there's a little interesting tidbit I found out about her history that we're going to talk about that she doesn't know yet. But anyway, her name is Jen Sugermeyer, and I met her through this morning's guest, all right, Joe Pardo, on a thing that Joe did last week. And she was so interesting, I had to bring her on to find out about her. So let's bring her on screen and see if everything works. Ready? Jen Sugermeyer, how are you?
Yay, excellent. I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm learning stuff about you too.
Did you know that I lived in Dallas?
I didn't know you lived in Dallas, but I do now. How about that?
We have so many mutual friends in Dallas when I researched.
You gotta love social media.
Yep. So first of all right, Jen, just tell everybody just a little bit who you are and what you do. So we get to kind of the unofficial out there.
All right. So there is a whole lot that we can dig into. I'll tell you about the here and now and the today. So I am a best-selling author. My book just came out about 3-4 weeks ago called Reset. Mm-hmm. So that has taken up a lot of my time. So author, life coach, motivational speaker, that's a lot of what my day looks like today. I spent 15 years in corporate America climbing the ladder. And that it's certainly an interesting path, and it was a good path. Learned a lot about business, and now I've transitioned fully into this other area of my life. But it took me a lot of time and a lot of stories to get to want to get to the path where I am today.
Mm. So yeah, there's a lot of stories, and I'm sure we're going to dig into them. But I'm going to start with this one because I know this when I researched about you. So where are you from?
From Northern Virginia, outside DC.
What's the town?
Well, it's Fairfax County, but I'm from Herndon-Reston area.
Mm-hmm. So the interesting thing I found out when I seen Reston, Virginia, was I was sitting in the Hyatt in Reston, Virginia, watching the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase in the bar.
So you were up at Reston Town Center, I think. And
yeah.
Yes. And I wasn't too far down the road. And I remember right where I was too.
So we were probably in the same town watching that.
Yes. That's so amazing. Yeah.
When I seen that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that town.
Yeah. Fascinating.
It's an interesting life when we find out, and now we both live in Dallas, and I see we have an awful lot of interesting friends that we do with. So your journey, I guess there's been a journey to get here. All right. You want to tell us a little about the journey? What are some things that you went, okay, I'm out of Virginia, I got to go somewhere else?
Yeah, I think what prompted me to get out of Virginia was a change from my divorce. So that was happening. But really to get a change in my life, I realize now, having looked back to when I was in Virginia, I spent 30 years there, and it started when I was about 12. And I had an eating disorder that lasted for about 5 years. And I bring that up because I feel like it's important to the story now, because I look at this behavior that I had learned back then to live a double life. And it's, an eating disorder is a very addictive disease. And, some people are addicted to food or, body image or whatever it may be. And so at a very young age, I had learned to live this double life that people, that I didn't want to let people in. I just knew it wasn't mainstream. Pick my head up, over 2 decades later, and here I am in and out of jails and hospitals and an alcoholic. And I was just living this unmanageable life. And yet I was going into the office, and I was, I was just keeping this life hidden from everyone. And it wasn't even a life that I wanted. It wasn't even a choice that I had made anymore. This wasn't fun college drinking. This was an addiction that I couldn't get rid of. And so for me to really make a choice, and part of that, I guess going back to Virginia, I thought that I could just up and move. and that my problems wouldn't follow me, right? If I just kind of took a different, if I lived somewhere else, if I had a different area code, that my life would change. And that's not really how that works. And I don't know very many success stories that happen that way. And so I had moved to California, and my company, like many companies, relocated their headquarters to Dallas. So I ended up here. But anyway, so there's a whole lot of content I just threw at you. And I know that you're probably thinking of things that you want to dig into. But that's kind of a summary of how, once I finally broke out, it took me 10 years to get sober. And once I finally broke out of it, that's when I started down the path. And that's how I wrote Reset and got into everything that I'm doing today.
Wow. First of all, yes, I did find your book Reset, and I'm like, wow, this is a story. And now I see, with you, Jen, it's almost like you had a church life and you had a work life.
Yeah.
But I'll bet you didn't have a life.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends. I've always had a lot of friends. I very much extroverted, and I enjoy being around people, very personable, but there was only so close I could let people get to me. And so even though I thought, or what had just happened over time, is that I could have these two separate lives, the reality is, and what I found out was that you really can't, because I couldn't allow people to get that close to me. And that's what I wanted. I wanted those deep, meaningful relationships. I think we all do in some capacity. And for me, it really came down to, my dating life was that was just a horrible disaster. And I think it wasn't two lives that I could keep up and have the life that I wanted.
Because you really get what I asked by that. You didn't have a life. You almost do. A lot of us have double lives, it seems. And it's always that the real life we really want, we can't find it. And I think you found that out the place I wanted to go with this now is, when you started to find that life that you really wanted, all right, did you battle against getting it with these other two lives, with your addiction life and with your work life? And did you battle?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I was literally, I had been arrested, and I talk about this a lot because it's a little extreme, but I've practiced for speeches in jail for the CEO for later that day. I mean, that's to the level of just unmanageability, right? And so it's things like that. Like how do you scale that in your life, and relationships, like with men? I mean, I couldn't scale those. There was nothing I could scale appropriately. I couldn't keep these two things. And so I wanted a life that had peace, one where I could sleep at night, one where I had close friendships, and one, just where I was proud to show you who was Jen Sugermeyer instead of just this Facebook or social media. Like, this is what my life looks like, right? Yeah. And I could not have the two in every area of my life. It wasn't attainable.
Yeah. Well, that being said, was there something that like a wall you ran into, or a person who confronted you to make you realize, oh crap, I've got to fix this? Or was it something you self-realized?
Yeah, well, I self-realized for a long time that like I mentioned, it took me a decade to get sober. And the thing was, I kept going after the symptom, and the symptom was my drinking and my addictions. And I've had many. And I kept going after that. And I did a lot of these if-then statements. If I find, a person in my life, then I'll be happy. And if I had a family, and if I made more money, and then I would, and then I'd stop drinking or whatever. And that never. I do have a cat.
If you had a cat, you'd be happy.
I've said that. I swear, I've said that. And I do now, and I am. But yeah. So I decided one time that I was ready to start dating, because I had been in domestic abuse as part of my story. I mean, there's a whole lot there. So So I decided I'm going to start dating someone, and this person's going to fix me. I mean, I really just feel badly for that poor victim. But anyway, so I found a gentleman, and we really hit it off. And after about 4 months, we had the talk. So I was I was bracing myself, my armor, just to, do you remember what you did last night? Or, really just to throw the hammer down, because that was the response that I would get if anybody ever got a glimpse into my life. And he said 7 words, and this is what launched me into my sobriety. And he said, Jen, you need to learn to love yourself. And it was in that moment that I realized that all those things, that life that I wanted, that really I was never going to be able to get. I was never going to have that job, those friendships, that partner, man, whatever in my life. I was never going to have, just the freedom that I wanted. And had I looked back at my 5-year-old self, and all of her hopes and dreams, I would never be able to fulfill those if I kept down the path that I absolutely hated. And so it was that day. And so it wasn't all my lows, like all my deep, dark, nasty lows. It was literally those 7 words.
Wow. So let's move out of the past and let's move through the journey. All right. The journey now, cleaning up the mess, the past. All right. In cleaning that up, all right, what are some of the tools you tried to use to go, okay, and maybe some of them failed, some of them worked. What are the tools?
Yeah, I realized I did. I started trying different things. One of the first things I did was I started going through my life and what were the things that didn't serve me. And so I kind of looked for low-hanging fruit and things that were toxic. And so these were material. These were people, places, things, and ideologies. And what were those that were just clutter, like clutter on the counter? You don't really use it. It's just sitting there. Could be in the closet, whatever. To what are those things that are really weighing me down? And anything in the middle, I just kind of kept as it was, because I wasn't trying to, I usually go through and turn on every single knob, and then I never know. I'm like, I'll just start taking 27 vitamins, and I don't know which one is doing anything because I take 27 vitamins. So I tried to be a little methodical about what was happening in my life and not do too many things at one time. But getting rid of things and really addressing everything in my space was very helpful. And I think, when we have too much clutter, it's hard to see what really serves purpose in our life. And it helps us, distracts us from what's going on. So that was one of the first things. And I realized that I had a lot of anger. And even though a lot of people in my life I don't think anyone would have really said that I'm an angry person. I know me when I drive, and I know that you've driven in the Dallas traffic. You've been on 635. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I big truck kind of, Ford F-250 kind of girl. And I'm like, and I would get so mad. And it was like my responsibility with this big, large truck to teach people a lesson. That was, that's my job. And so I would, I would do these things to, I don't know, on the road. And I was very up and down. I would get so angry in the vehicle, and then I would go into work and I would be calm. And then there would be something at work that would trigger me and my blood pressure would rise. And I just felt like I was sort of on this roller coaster all day. And so I decided that that anger was one of the very first things that I had to address. And I had no idea how much that actually weighed me down. So yeah, addressing my space, and then the things that didn't serve me, which one of them was my anger, and then negativity. Those were key foundational steps for me to really get a handle on what was going on in my life.
So you got rid of negativity. That means you weren't one of these positive, like, oh, everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows now, right? That always solves all the problems.
I think I'm a realist. I think I'm definitely a realist, but I do like to look at the situation and say, okay, like this pandemic we have going on, like it is really negative, but there's also a lot of opportunity in it as well. And so just kind of keeping in that space. But yeah, I definitely am still a realist. I mean, I'd like to say it's all rainbows and bunny rabbits, but to
me, that's the wishful thinking. But I love it when right now I've seen so many people in the positivity. So I always like to ask that question, not to put it down because it's needed.
Yeah.
But I try to center in realism too, because I'm a pessimist at heart, so I've got to lean as hard to the.
I think most of us are. I think just left to our own, devices. I think it's it's an effort that I still have to make. And I'm like, okay, let's reframe this positively, because it's like frowning. Like you just frown, right? But to smile, you actually have to use facial muscles. Like it takes work.
My mother picks on me because almost all of my photos for my business are never me smiling, and she's, will you smile in a photo?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It just takes more work, but
so
yeah.
we got Larry Roberts watching on with us. Okay,
Hey, Larry.
Yeah. Another DFWer. Yeah, no. I was shocked to learn that Larry lived in DFW as
I didn't know that.
Yeah, on that broadcast, I was like, wait a minute, Jen. And I was telling this because I had Joe on the show this morning. I was shocked that all you people on Joe's show were from Dallas.
We'll have to do like a little get together. That'd be fun.
Get together. When this is all over, we're going to have a Dallas indie podcasters get together.
I love it.
So anyway, you've gone through some of this stuff and you had to eliminate. All right. Did you use any? Well, first of all, let me ask you this, because I know you've had to deal with getting rid of addictions. Say alcohol. All right. My wife and I drink alcohol, but we're not. I wouldn't call us alcoholics. Can you be around other people, or does it now affect you that much?
I'm around it all the time. In fact, I should probably be careful how I say this. It depends, I think, on where you're at. Mm-hmm. And you have to continue to reassess where you are. Mm-hmm. And for me, when I first stopped drinking, I didn't want to be around it. I just really needed to focus on myself and healing. And then once I felt strong enough, then, I'm usually the one that's asking people like, hey, do you want to go to the bar? I mean, you'll find me at the bar, even sometimes with my laptop, just watching the fights or whatever on a Saturday night or something like that. I mean, I have no problem being around alcohol, but it's different for everyone. And, I had to stop romanticizing about, just the taste, the feel, all that, and really disconnect myself from all that. But for everyone, it's different. But for me, I have no problem being around it.
So, I was wondering about that, because some people, you said you were an extrovert. All right. So as opposed to me, I'm an introvert. So it's like the extrovert people, you need that fellowship. So that's why I was wondering, when you get into, okay, now I know this is what the addiction was, and that problem solved, and over here, now I need the people back in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So and I think really, as long as you're, you've created a lifestyle for yourself. And I love that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Larry, which, by the way, I sent you a message on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it, but anyhow, we'll have to connect. But for me, I think really we have to just be very mindful with where we're at. And I was going to say something, and then I started reading, and apparently I can't do two things at the same time. All right, I get it. Over.
Well, I noticed some of the people you were hearing, you noticed here in town. I noticed, Michael from M to the Rock. All right. Yeah. You've been on his show as well. And I know Michael has struggled with addictions as well in his life.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you've connected with people who are now on the other side, helping people on the other side, which brings me to the question about, okay, so as you transition now out, you're out now helping people on the other side with the book, programs, coaching. Explain to me about how you now do that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just networking and getting out there. I do have, there's a team of people that are behind me that help me find different avenues of people to talk to, but it's really just getting out there and putting your name out. And I think, for so long the reason I had this double life is because there's sort of this idea that in society we have to look a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I've struggled so many times with being in different circles, because I'm like, I don't fit in here. You guys just seem too perfect, and I'm not perfect. And I struggled. And I find that, I personally felt like I was this black sheep forever. And I'm tired of it. I am tired of everybody walking around like they're perfect, because I guarantee you, everybody's got something. You've got something you're hiding, or you're just something that you don't care to share with everybody. And I'm tired of it. And so I've I'm as truthful as I can be and as honest as I can be. And then when you just put yourself out there and you start telling, your story, people start creeping up and saying, man, thank you so much, and it's just because society has been so, this is how you should look. And I'm tired of it. So I'm just breaking out and saying what I want to say. And I if I can help one person, then I can help one person. That's what it's all about.
So I do like that you said you got a big 254. Do you still have that?
I've had a couple, but I did recently sell my truck. But I do have Ford tailgate over in my corner. Truck stuff is my decor, like a huge truck.
I've had Harleys, and I one time had a sports car that I hated. And I drive a big Dodge truck. I have a Dodge diesel big truck. So it's like, I love that. And my wife got, she got a Volvo SUV that she loves. And now she doesn't want to drive my truck. She wants to drive her SUV. I can't blame her. It's hers, but I mean, I went through stages of like the sports car. Oh, I don't like that. You know what I mean? Have you gone through stages of things like that? Well, let me try this out. Oh no, I don't like that.
I've done that with trucks. I started out with, I've had 6 trucks, and I just had to figure out which one fit me best. And I do. I'm like a big Ford F-250. I know which years I like. I like the diesel. I like big tires. I like a little bit of a lift. I'm 6'1" and I like to wear heels. And so people ask, they say, why do you tow things? Do you haul? Do you schlep? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I just want to walk up into my truck when I wear my heels. That's my only objective. So, but I had phases with, I just had to try my different truck until I found my fit.
Yeah. And I guess I kind of twist the question. I guess I should get the question around too. Like I bought a car because I thought like I had to have a certain status symbol. And you being the double life, did you ever feel like you had to have the Mercedes, or did you ever get there because you lived a double life? So,
I don't think I ever did anything that was outside. In fact, I think most of the people that I was on the same level with on a corporate level would say that I was probably on my own path. I don't think I ever did anything to outwardly show anything or try to prove anything or change who I am. I think I've always stayed pretty true to who I am.
So, I mean, because you sounded like you're, for me, it was the double life is like I was trying to appear like I was business over here, but over here I didn't want to be. I was wondering with that, if that was part of it. But, a lot of people, it isn't. For me, I was trying to put up appearances as a business person. And doing things I hated. And it sounded like your life, maybe you'd done that, not just with cars, but maybe in a bunch of other areas as well. So that's where I was at with that. So how long have you been in Dallas now?
This will be my 7th year. Amazing.
Yeah, 7th year. Okay. And did you come here for a job, or you just come here to go, you know what, this is the place I want to be?
It was the job that I was working in California when they relocated out here I had only been out there for like 6 months, and it was in this like little podunk town, and it was terrible. It was, oh my gosh, I've never just existed before. California is a beautiful state, but not where I was. And so I was one of the first people to move out here, and I can't believe I'm coming up on 7 years.
Yeah. I stopped here on the way to California moving, and I never left.
Yeah, it's a great state. I love it.
And my brother, who got me here, lives in New Zealand now. He doesn't even live here anymore. But same thing. I mean, it was, I didn't come here on purpose, but I came here and loved it. And it wasn't a job. It was just a stopping point. And I actually met another friend very similar with this. All right. He came from New England, and this was a stopping point that he went, oh man, this is where I want to be. Yeah. All right. And now what he was originally doing when he was going through here, he's not doing anymore. He's doing something totally different, changed his life. All right. As well. And he dealt with addictions too. His name was Rob. He was one of my many years ago podcasts. But it's interesting to find out. I heard this one time, and I want your thoughts on it, because was this the place you found your healing first?
Yes.
Okay. So this was something a lady told me many years ago. She said she believed that Dallas in Texas was God's healing ground. And I would love your opinion on that.
I think everybody's a huge Texas, like everything came from Texas. Texas is, but I mean, I don't know, there is a sense of pride. There's a sense of freedom. I don't know, maybe it's the size of the state, or, it's unlimited potential, or it's freedom to breathe. I don't know what it is, but I've talked to a lot of people that have really connected with Dallas and with Texas. And so maybe there is some kind of healing. I know for me, I mean, this has been such a great place, and I was healed here. So I definitely believe that.
Yeah, that's why, because it's almost really, it's not like a fact, it's a personal opinion. And sometimes the healing I found here, I came here again after a divorce, and I found healing from it here. And like, to me, that makes it, in my mind, I feel like it's God's healing ground. But you may not feel that, because it may not have been a point that went, okay, I'm getting healing. You were searching, I think, for a point to find it when you got here, I think.
Yeah, it took me a little bit of time, but I've always had this connection since I got here, and I never thought I would live in Dallas. Like I didn't want to be landlocked. I guess we're not totally landlocked, but I travel a lot. I've traveled all over the globe, and so I wanted to be on a coast. And so I never thought Texas would be it. But as soon as I got here, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the people, and to me, I have kind of this East Coast big personality, and I think there's also maybe a little bit of West Coast in there, and so I think just Texas is a good space in the middle. It's kind of a combination of the two. So I've always loved it, even before I got healed. That's proper English.
So we don't worry about proper English on this show. So you've traveled the world. Tell us some of the places you've traveled to.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Let's see. I lived in Italy for a couple of years, and that was after college. I took a couple of years, lived there. I spent a year in Afghanistan. I worked there for a year.
Wow.
But I've been to 49 countries, so I've been all over, and I spent, a lot around Europe. Surprisingly, I've been a lot around the Middle East, and that's surprising, especially for a female. But everywhere from Australia to, or not Australia, but Argentina to Cambodia and I've been to India many times. A lot of these I've traveled many, many times. But my thing that I like to do, because I'm a minimalist, I like to take cooking lessons when I go. And so I'll take cooking lessons, and then I bring back spices, and that's usually my gig. So lots of fun places.
So then I guess I could ask, where was the best food you had?
Oh, I would have always said that it was Italy. And then one time I took a trip, and I went to Italy, and then I went to Turkey right after. And I think I gained 15 pounds in Turkey. I mean, the food was so, oh my gosh, I don't know. So it's a really hard toss up. Turkish food is amazing. And they're little Turkish delights or whatever. Oh, there's,
Yeah, but you also said you brought some spices back. So what is the best spice that you've brought back and use today here at home?
Boy, India has so many of them. I mean, if you like Indian food, garam masala is really their mix is just fantastic. Morocco, actually, you know what? Morocco had some fantastic. They were very simple. They were like 5 spices, like that was the name. Like 7 spices. Like I don't even know what was in them. It was just like 3 spices. I don't know what it was, but they were very good.
I'm not into Indian food. My mother, who moved close to us from Pennsylvania down, and my wife loved to go have Indian food. I'm like, go ahead. I'll stay here and have a pizza.
I was very international and global with my palate. And then I have to admit, in the last 7 years, I'm like, I don't know. You want barbecue?
Yeah.
I think I've sort of adapted on that level here too. But
now you're here in Dallas, but are you a member on Facebook of the North Texas Barbecue Addicts Facebook group?
No, but I should be.
You should be. I'm just saying. Yeah, we share recipes in there like you wouldn't believe.
Okay.
I'm a barbecue guy, and I make my own sauce and my own ribs and everything. Yeah. So you need to join it.
Is it public knowledge of your favorite barbecue spot here in Dallas?
My favorite here in Dallas, it's not. I don't have a favorite. It's kind of iffy, but I like Salt Lick, which is down in Driftwood. Is my favorite Texas one. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cadillac would be, I would vote for Cadillac.
Cadillac's a good one.
Their beef ribs. Oh, yeah.
I do like, and, you know what I mean? If you travel around the world, I mean, cause I do a lot of fast food too. I love fast food, but like the barbecue that's interesting is the Dickies.
Yeah.
Dickies is kind of like, it's fast food, but you know what? It's a consistent menu no matter where you go in the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now
And they started here in Dallas. You know
yes,
that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Now I do know the guy who famous Dave. I know Dave personally,
Oh,
and like I've been to like a few of his restaurants. But anyway,
yeah.
yeah, my personal knowledge there. But we're finding out about you today, not me. So now that you're on this side of it, all right, you're now helping other people, and we know that the healing is probably still going on, but you're helping other people. And is there someone in this side of it that you sit back and attribute to, you know, a mentor or something you attribute to, they said something or they did something that now influences my life every day?
Well, I think when the gentleman told me that, I needed to learn to love myself, and that's I mean, what I found out at kind of the end of my journey was that was it. Like I needed to reconnect with myself. I needed to fall in love with myself again. And instead of being my worst enemy, become my biggest supporter, my biggest advocate. And so I think those words really stick with me on a day-to-day basis. And I tell myself all the time. I mean, I'm, my self-affirmations and all the things that I was doing to reacquaint with myself. So that has definitely had a significant impact. He didn't last in my life, but those 7 words did.
Those 7 words, well, you got something out of it. So yeah.
I did. Yeah, we're still friends. So, but yeah, those stick with me every day.
Mm-hmm. So now I want to flip that, and I want to ask, because you're a coach, all right, and a speaker and a mentor to others, is there some word of advice you give to people that you hope though your 7 words becomes their impact?
Yeah, I mean, it's really the same advice. I mean, it's connecting with themselves and helping them to get there. I actually just put a freebie out on my website, and I call it the happiness guide. Mm-hmm. And I think the key to happiness is connecting with yourself, and having that intimate relationship. And so that's exactly, what I teach and I coach and I help people get there. And we really work on mindset, and the mindset piece is huge. And I think, unlocking those 2 things, and I will mention a higher power that is part of my journey as well. Mm-hmm. That's sort of like the master recipe to just having a very peaceful and beautiful life.
Mm-hmm. I've asked that question, Jen, to people throughout the years. And I think I've done through 10 years of doing podcasts and interviews. And almost always, Jen, I find it is almost always a uniform thing. The thing they were told and the thing they tell others. It's like, mm-hmm. You became the conduit.
Yeah.
Pass that message on to others, even though you probably needed it most. And you may find that in coaching. You find that as well?
Yeah. I think, when we help others, we're also helping ourselves, and it reinforces the message. And I mean, but it was, I wouldn't say anything that I wouldn't stand behind. If I didn't live through something, or if I didn't believe in something, or if I, if I had no expertise in it, then I wouldn't pass it on. I'm not a textbook reader and then I regurgitate something. This might work for you. This is what worked for me. Mm-hmm. And those were the words that I heard. Mm-hmm. And that was the journey I took. And those were the lessons I learned. And so, through that, then I can, it's just working with others. And I already know that it worked because it worked for me. So, and then it just helps reinforce it with me. And I think, and you will definitely find a lot of that in the sober community. There's a lot of sponsors out there, and you'll hear every single one of them say, it helps them just as much as it helps me.
Mm-hmm. I find it, and I'm so inspired to hear that is the same with you, and you see it as well in your community. All right, especially in the alcoholism. You kind of touched on something that I want to come back and mention a little bit there. You said your higher power. So can I ask your personal beliefs? Would you mind sharing those?
Sure. So my higher power is God, and And I always recognized that I came from a Christian household, and I always knew, I believed, I acknowledged, but I didn't have that relationship component.
Mm-hmm.
And really, when I got sober, I just said, I'm committed. I'm full on into, I'm going to change my life. And it was part of that, it was like, you lay everything out on the table. That was like when I was going through my closet and I was looking at my anger and all that. You just lay everything out, and it's like, well, what were things in my life that have worked? Well, I know when I was a little bit closer to my God that things were better, and when I was far that things were worse. And so finally at that moment I said, look, I give it up. Like you take control, because I've really done a poor job. I mean, I've done some things okay in my life, with the career, whatever, but I don't have happiness. I don't have peace. I don't have all of these things that, that my God's promises. And so I said, just take it. And I found a church. I know not everyone does church, but they connect with a high power maybe. And I found a great church here with a great pastor. And yeah, it's the best decision. It is the best decision. And honestly, my life does get better every day, every day. And the closer I walk with my higher power, the better it gets, and the more doors that open and the more clarity I get. So it's a beautiful walk to be on for me.
So yeah, I'm a Christian as well. And I share that. I didn't in the beginning of my business share that as much as I do now. But in Christianity, we believe in a thing called forgiveness. I'm sure that is a huge part of what you've gone through and what are going through.
Yep. Yeah. Accept, let go, forgive, let go, let God, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting always to see so many times it's what I mean, as a Christian, I see the Christian in others. I see that. And that's why I knew that when I was kind of hinting at what I figured out. I'm like, I'm going to ask. Why not? What's the word? She's going to say no. So Jen, it's been a really interesting conversation with you today. If people want to get a hold of you, what is the website that they can reach you at?
So as long as you spell it right, it's jensugermeyer.com, right? So if you're listening to this, not looking at the screen, it's sugar with an E, but that hubs all my information. It has a link to the book. I mentioned the freebie. Go out there, just download it. Use this time during the COVID crisis to reconnect with yourself. Do it anyway, but now you've been gifted more time, so go do it now. Coaching, motivational speaking, anything, all that information is out there. And I also put out all my blogs and all that. So there's a lot of, podcasts to listen to, or just social media or things like that. So Jen,
do you have a podcast as well?
No, but I have aspirations, and I've got a laundry list of things that I'm working through, including writing my next book right now. And so, but I've got all the equipment. I am ready to roll once that time comes. So I'm just becoming an expert guest speaker right now. That is my goal. And then I will transition, but I plan to do that here probably the next 6 months or so.
Yeah, I've heard I listened to a few of your interviews over the past week on other people's things. And I was like, man, I can't wait till she actually gets her own. I want to hear her own podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've got so many things that are going on, but this COVID crisis, honestly, and again, it's how you look at it. But to me, it's been a big opportunity to really hunker down and write some things and get some things on my list. So
then, before I go into my last thing here, I'll ask you this: if there was one piece of advice you could give to people who were in your shoes before, what they could be doing right now during COVID and they're at home?
Yeah, reconnect. Go out to jensugermeyer.com. Learn how to reconnect with yourself. That's what you need to do right now.
I wonder how that fit in there, Tim.
And I will tell you, I say it's a concept that I call date yourself. And I say it's treating you like you would date you. And when you start to treat yourself with respect and the respect that you deserve, it just changes the ball game. And so, that's one thing. And it's really just not focusing. I think, one thing I've been talking about a lot, I was actually on ABC yesterday talking about control here on WFAA. And we focus so much on I think it's so easy for us to get wrapped up into all the crisis and everything that's happening. But if we just let what we can control be our guide, I think, and so what do we control? We don't control the death rate. We don't control the stock market. We don't control the spread of the disease other than staying inside. We don't control the layoffs, but we do control if we spend more time with our family, if we reconnect with ourselves, if we meditate, these are the things that we control. And there's a lot more peace in those than trying to wrap our head around all these things that are outside of our control. So that's just one message that I just think is really good for us to hear. And it's a decision that we make. And so for anyone, whether you're going through something or not, I think we all just have to remember that we have a choice in the matter, and let that what do we control versus not control be our guide.
I think that is great advice. Oh my gosh. So Jen, I have this game I like to play to finish out my podcasts. It's called This or That. Do you like playing games?
Yes, I do. Let's play.
So I actually have it with you in mind. I made this.
Okay.
Number 1, morning or evening person?
Morning.
Morning? Yeah, I figured that was it, though. City or country?
City.
Okay. Getting into one here that I kind of think I found the answer to earlier, but heels or boots?
Heels. Oh, heels.
Asking a 6-foot woman if she wants to wear heels. Yes.
Always.
Anyway, hamburger or taco?
Taco.
You live in Texas, just saying. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tea. Iced tea or hot tea?
Hot tea.
Okay. West Coast or East Coast?
East Coast.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
I thought you to be a beach person. So now these last two, this one here could be a war right now if you have it. And if not, you don't. But it could be a war for some people. Over or under on the toilet paper?
Oh, yeah, this is definitely a war. It has to go over. I will take it off and flip it around. I could be a guest at your house. You will know that I was there because it will go over.
So the story of the week was my first interview of the week was this girl, Cammie from New England. And she said, so if I start dating a guy and I go to his house and it's under, I change it.
Yeah.
Two times. Yeah, if I come back a third time and it's changed the other way, I break up with him. It's over.
I like it.
Cammie is now being quoted on all of my podcasts.
I like it.
Yeah. So the last one can get a little bit strange, but I like asking it anyway. Boxers or briefs?
Briefs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, see, it's not that hard.
I like it. That's a fun game. Let's get going.
One of these days, I'll organize it and put them on the screen so everybody can see the questions. But anyway.
I like it.
Well, Jen, one more time, tell them your website so they can get a hold of you.
JenSugermeyer.com.
Yeah. And I want to thank you personally for coming on my show and sharing your story, your heart. And I hope I get to know you more now that we're in the Dallas area. And we can do more over here in the next couple weeks and months. So
great. Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. You stay safe out there.
Yeah, you too. So, hey guys, it's Tim Gillette, and it's the end of another show. A great interview with Jen Sugermeyer. By all means, go check out her site, jensugermeyer.com. I'm Tim Gillette with the Tim Gillette Show, and I will see you soon with another episode. Bye.